Well, I got it here. Now what am I going to do with it? Hello my friends, and welcome to Tom's Tinkering and Adventures. Well, the other day I got this pickup here from my buddy Robert Roy. Been sitting in his yard for 5 years or so, hadn't moved. So we got it running. My son helped me out and drug it here to Tom's Tinkering and Adventures Global Domination Headquarters. So now we need to go through this vehicle. It made it here. Had some overheating issues on the way home. And of course it's been sitting, so we need to go through it. So I think what we're going to do today is we're going to pull that water pump off and take a look at it. I believe that's why we're having overheating issues. And we'll probably do a oil change, filters, and spark plugs and wires maybe. And we'll address another issue that I located on this thing, which is this knob doesn't appear to do anything. So we don't have a heater. This truck doesn't have an air conditioner, but we also don't have a heater, which I guess if that's all you got, you should have it. So we'll see if we can figure all this out. So when this thing is running, you could hear a kind of a tickety-tackety-tockety knocking sound coming from this area. So we're pretty hopeful that the water pump is the reason for the overheating. It's pretty easy to work on this truck. Fan shroud is in 2 pieces, so you just can take the top off. Then it's easy to get to the bolts to take the fan off of here. And then I am going to remove this lower radiator hose. I have a pan underneath there. We're going to drain that. And there's one hose right there that needs to be removed. Heater hose. Boom. And then I think it's 4 bolts or maybe 6 bolts, and that water pump should come off. Okay, out with the old and in with the new. We installed the new water pump and new thermostat in here. And I still got to add a little bit more coolant here. And probably blow out all this dirt and stuff out of here as well. And we'll give her a shot and see if it overheats still. If it does, then I don't know where we're going to go from there. What do you think? No ideas? You're not helpful at all. Okay, we got it together. We're running it. It's been running a couple minutes. All the gauges look good except for that anti-lock, which I haven't even looked into, but I did put some fresh fluid in it, but we're going to flush all the brakes as well. We'll just have to see if this thing heats up. So far, no leaks on the outside. No leaks. I'm beginning to question the validity of this gauge. Thing stayed nice and low until I started to go up the driveway or up the street out of my driveway, and it punched all the way over to 210, and then sat there for a second, and then it just went all the way over here to the right. Not quite into the red, but we got the check gauges light on. I step on it a little bit and it goes down. Let's pull over. Put it in park. I can hear it going through the heater core. I rev it up a bit and it's going down. Not down a lot. Oh, look at that. The volt gauge goes down when I rev it up. That's something. Interesting. Oh, yeah, and here's our heater repair. This is a plastic mechanism. It goes through and then it goes to this cable mechanism on the back. For some reason that plastic mechanism is stripped out, so we just pulled it apart and put it on the back here. So now this should control the heater. So that should open up the heater core. We'll get some flow through the heater core. See if that does anything. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, I suspect that gauge is not correct. Well, I know an engine that's running hot, and this is definitely not an engine that's running hot. If it was running hot, there's no way you could put your hand on that. There's no way you could put your hand on this upper hose, although this upper hose does feel a little bit stiff. Maybe there's some air in the system. That's a possibility. This coolant tank, the overflow, that's not that hot. So the system might just need to be burped. That's a good possibility, and I'll look into that. But other than that, I think it's a gauge error. Okay, I think we got this thing licked here as far as the overheating issue. I'm pretty sure it was just some air in the system at this point. We kept bleeding the system out, adding fluid, revving it up, and then after a while I got it so that the temp gauge would stay more towards the middle than all the way maxed out. Haven't driven it a whole lot, but enough around the neighborhood where it was getting hot before and it's not now. So at this point we're going to bleed the brake system. So I am using a turkey baster thing here, injector, removing all this old brake fluid. We're going to fill it up and then we're going to bleed the brakes. We made kind of a brake fluid mess here in the yard and on the truck. We got a little overexcited with the brake bleeding and we didn't have the cap on. And if you ever press down on your brake pedal, the cap isn't on your master cylinder, it's going to spray fluid in this direction, upward, and like that, and then it'll all come down like that. but we have brake fluid that is not black, brown, or even amber. We have some nice clear brake fluid in there now. Got some more goodies here. Got some STP high mileage oil. What happened, son?
I got bit by something.
Oh, there's bees right over here. Who would have known? Who would have known an oil change would be so dangerous? Yeah, look at the bees.
Just delete that one.
Nope, not deleting it. Aaron was under there trying to help out with an oil change and he got stung by bees. Go get some ice on it or a cold compress. Got an air filter, oil filter, some plugs, and some plug wires. Oh man, I hope they gave me 6. I didn't even check to see. Yeah, it looks like they did. So we're gonna be doing all that. I drove it around to get it ready for the oil change, and I think we've got this coolant issue licked here, the cooling issue. It seems like it's doing fine. It stayed all the way over kind of cold, slowly creeped up, and then bumped up kind of towards the middle and then dropped right back down and stayed there. It's a nice visual representation. But we're gonna do some basic maintenance on this thing and then we'll see where we're at. Oil change is 95% done. We just top it off and check it. And we remove the air cleaner assembly and it's time to start pulling out spark plugs. This is a V6. It looks pretty easy, but you just never know. 2 in the back, 1 there. It looks like the hardest part's gonna be routing these wires, but it's always a pain up and around. I didn't get a new cap or rotor. Hopefully that doesn't bite me in the ass, but it's not quite as vital on these type of engines as your old engines with points and such. This engine's pretty easy to work on. I think I surprised Aaron. He was opening up the stuff that we had. He didn't even get everything opened up before I already had removed the whole passenger side bank. These spark plugs don't look bad, but this is just a good idea. Change this kind of stuff. It's not too expensive. I think I paid $30 plus about $60 for plugs and wires. was $90 for plugs, wires, oil filter, air filter. All right, we got 3 new spark plugs and 3 new wires on this side. Replace the coil wire. So we just got these 3 spark plugs to do over here, which may or may not be a little bit more difficult just because we got the steering shaft in the way. How's the bite going? We saw hornets around here, so we think it was a hornet, not a bee. We're gonna get those last spark plugs changed out, and then we'll fire it up and see how she goes. 6 new plugs, 6 new wires, well, 7 new wires. This one, I spent more time on that plug wire than on the, probably, I'd say at least half as much time on that as I'm doing the entire thing, because the boot got frozen solid to the plug. So when I tried to remove it, the wire pulled out and then couldn't get the boot off, and it's a limited space to work in. So I had to peel that boot off bit by bit and just broke into little pieces of rubber. But we got them all changed, and now, like, for the most technical aspect here, master craftsman Aaron is going to install a new air filter. Which definitely needs it. Yeah, always want to make sure they're the... Looks like it's the same. Okay. We were gonna have this chromed, but decided not to. Figured that would be too fast. All right. So once we get this button down, clear the area, we'll fire it up and see if we notice if it runs any better, worse, or the same. All right. What do we got here today?
This is the one and only wonderful
Keystone
Light. This is the Aaron's Adventures in Tinkering daily driver.
That's his beer. Jeez. I mean, I thought I had it bad with the PBRs, but look at this guy, Keystone Light. But what's the deal?
This is
30 stones for $14.
Yeah, it's like 4.6 cents an ounce or something like that.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't judge your beer on how much you're paying per ounce.
But it's just Coors.
Yeah, well, that's kind of funny. We went to a concert the other night, and Aaron bought a single beer. Was it $12?
Yeah, it was like $12, and I tipped $2 too.
So he paid $14 for a single beer at the concert. You know, that's how it goes. And then instead he gets 30 Keystones for $14. But enough Keystones. Once you get done with an oil change, you always want to start the truck up. Make sure there's no leaks. We've already done that. This truck has a handy dandy beer holder right there. It's got a key somewhere. Where did the key go? It's in my pocket. Solid oil pressure. Anti-lock light stays on. I looked up the anti-lock brake light, and everything I'm reading says that this is an old system. It could be anything from wheel sensors to the ABS unit itself, but the brakes will work just fine. Just the anti-lock doesn't work, and I tested that coming down the hill. So, all that being said, I am not going to put a whole lot more effort into this truck. And we have an adventure in store for this truck. And I am just dumb enough to probably give it a shot. So, I will make a video of said adventure. We'll be including this young man for a portion of it at least. So, other than that, I think we are going to call this truck ready for hitting the road. There's a lot of stuff that I probably should do. I guess the last thing that I'm going to do is buy some windshield wipers, which is maybe something more should be done, but that's all I'm going to do. All right, if you're digging what I'm putting out, give me a thumbs up, leave some comments down below. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider doing so. Aaron's
Adventures in Tinkering.
No, Tom's Tinkering and Adventures. Thank you very much for watching. Get out there and find your adventure. Adios. You ruined it.